Today's Q&A is going to be an interesting one. I have some questions that I'm both excited and a little bit nervous to answer, so we're going to get to those at the end of the Q&A. I'm going to start with the more sort of inconsequential questions about the game, and then we'll get to the real questions, the questions about life and the future. Before we do that though, I'm going to remember my lucky egg. Now, I have quite a few Pokemon that I'm actually excited to evolve, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do the exciting stuff first, so that the focus will be on the Pokemon, and then we'll do the less exciting Pokemon at the end, so that I can focus on the questions. Plus, I might take a little longer to answer those questions, so I don't want the lucky egg to run out before I evolve the good stuff. So, very first is going to be the new entry in the Pokédex, Coughing. I finally walked far enough to get my 50 candies. So here we go. Wheezing. I wish it was better in this game. It was actually a really good defensive Pokemon in the main series games. Tackle Shadow Ball. It's not. That's not good. But there it is. I have a Wheezing. That's a new Pokemon in the Pokédex. Now the first question I want to start with is, are there any moves besides Blizzard that can't be dodged? And the answer is, actually Blizzard can be dodged. I realized after I made the best defensive moveset video that I never really updated you guys when we found out that Blizzard can be dodged. Originally it was thought that Blizzard couldn't be dodged because there's something in the code called damage window, and it was 0 milliseconds for Blizzard, and we thought that that meant it couldn't be dodged, but it turns out damage window has nothing to do with dodging, and you can actually dodge Blizzard. The yellow flash appears right after the big iceberg pops up on your Pokemon. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see, but it is there. You can dodge Blizzard. And every other move, for that matter. The next evolution is one I've been waiting a very long time for. Execute. And this one actually isn't above 80% with its IVs. It's 77.8. But I'm making the exception because I've been waiting 2 months to evolve a decent Execute. 77.8 is good enough for me. Especially since Exeggutor has some of the highest CP in the game to begin with, so it's still going to have higher CP than a lot of my other Pokemon. Zen Headbutt, Solar Beam. Totally worth it. Look at that, 1638. It's not two moves with the same type, but to be honest, I'd rather have Solar Beam on Exeggutor because it is going to be the strongest Solar Beam user in the game, so it's going to be really good against those pesky Vaporeons that I see in every gym. Is it better to spam attacks and dodge only charge attacks when fighting a high CP Snorlax, or is it better to dodge every attack? It's kind of tricky, but my personal preference with Snorlax is because it has such high CP, there's always a possibility of running out of time when you're fighting against it. So if the defending Snorlax has Lick, I'll definitely just attack through that because Lick has pretty low damage. If it has Zen Headbutt, you might need to dodge if you need to survive, but most Pokemon should be able to survive it depending on what you're using against the Snorlax. Definitely dodge the charge attacks, but because it has such high CP, you might just need to spam attacks straight through if you want to kill it before the time limit runs out. Same goes for Lapras, although Lapras's quick attacks are a little bit stronger than Snorlax's because, well, they have better DPS and they benefit from stab. But with annoying Pokemon like that with really high HP, you definitely want to be attacking as much as possible because there's always a threat of running out of time. Next, I'm going to evolve a Clefairy. I just hatched this one and it has really good IVs. I think 2 stats are perfect. Attack and defense are perfect 15s. I haven't looked it up. Actually, I'm going to look it up and find out the actual percentage. 91%. 91%, not bad at all. So here we go. With that perfect 15 attack, I'm really hoping for Pound and Moonblast. Actually, even if it was defensively focused, I would be hoping for Pound and Moonblast. So, let's see. Pound and Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam is actually Clefable's worst charge move. It has like 13 DPS compared to 20 on Moonblast. So that's kind of a bummer, but oh well. There it is. How can we estimate a Pokemon's IVs from its CP? There's actually a chart that you can use that'll tell you the CP of a perfect IV Pokemon when it hatches from an egg. And if you sort of familiarize yourself with that, you can start to get an idea of what good CP is for a certain level. So I'm going to put that chart up now. So this is what perfect IVs look like at level 20. That's the maximum level that eggs will hatch. So if you take a look at the Stardust cost when you catch a Pokemon, if it's above 2,500, 2,500 is the cost at level 20. So let's say it's 3,500 and it has close to this CP, it's not going to have very good IVs. If a Pokemon's CP is closer to these numbers here, the higher its Stardust cost is, the worse its IVs are going to be. Now, if it's lower Stardust cost than 2,500, meaning it's lower than level 20, but it's still pretty close to these CP levels, those are going to be Pokemon with good IVs. Also, I'll put a link to that chart in the description so you can download it and save it on your phone. Next, I'm going to do a Poliwag. I have 2 Poliwraths with Mudshot and Hydro Pump, but I'd really like one with Bubble, especially considering Bubble Hydro Pump Poliwrath is the 3rd best defender in the game. Things are going pretty well. I'm totally out of Stardust, but I think once I have some more Stardust, this is going to be my next priority for powering up, because it's going to make a really solid gym defender. And it came from Hawaii, so that's an added bonus right there. Any idea on percentages in terms of hatching eggs, like what's the chance to get a starter, or are some Pokemon more common from 5k eggs than others? And the answer is, I do have an idea, because there is a very helpful website that has had a lot of people submit their egg hatches and sort of aggregated that data to come up with percentages. So I'm going to link to it in the description, but I'm just going to go over it really quickly for the video. For 2k eggs, the most common Pokemon are Weedle, Pidgey, Rattata, Caterpie, Magikarp, and Zubat. Those are all about 10% or above. Interestingly, Spearow is only 5%, but I seem to hatch quite a few Spearows from my 2k eggs. But for starters, Bulbasaur is about 5.8%, Pikachu 4.4%, Charmander 3.9%, Squirtle 2.6%, Jigglypuff and Clefairy are 2% or less. So you can see that starters are not very common. The chance of getting any of the starters from a 2k egg is about 20%, maybe a little bit less than that, and obviously you have a much better chance of getting the common stuff. Now for 5k eggs. For 5k eggs, it seems like some of the most common Pokemon are Bellsprout, Sandshrew, Tentacool, Psyduck, Goldeen, Staryu, etc. You can, again, look at this in the description if you want to follow along. Now the least common Pokemon to hatch from 5k eggs are regional exclusives at less than 1%, 0.1% actually. From 5k eggs, that's going to include Farfetch'd, Kangaskhan, and Tauros. And then also, very uncommon, Grimer at 0.4%, Porygon at 0.8%, Coughing at 0.8%, Seal at only 1%, which is kind of surprising to me, Lickitung 1.2%, Tangela 1.2%, Slowpoke, Diglett, Abra. There you go. So there's not really any one Pokemon that's dominating 5k hatches, and that's not surprising because there are a lot of Pokemon that can hatch from 5ks. But you can see that the things that you really want, Porygon, Lickitung, region exclusives, Grimer, Coughing, those things are very rare from 5k eggs. And 10k, I'm sure you've all experienced this, but Eevee is the most common at 15%. Also common are the things that people generally aren't very excited to hatch from their 10ks. Jinx, Electabuzz, Onix, Pinsir, Scyther, Magmar. Dratini comes in at 5%. Lapras is also 5%. Snorlax is closer to 4%. Kabuto and Chansey and Omanyte also 4%. Aerodactyl, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan 3% each. Now, 5% seems like a lot for Lapras, but considering the rate at which 10k eggs actually drop from Pokestops, it's not surprising that I haven't hatched one yet. But I do have 6 10-kilometer eggs right now. I'm trying to save up to get a full bag, 9 10k eggs and hatch them all at the same time, because I think that'll be pretty exciting. It's something I haven't done yet, and hopefully I can get my Lapras that way. Next evolution, I'm going to do this Eevee, but I'm going to rename it Pyro, because after I tried last time, a lot of you guys told me it doesn't work if you have another Eevee or another Pokemon named Pyro. So I'm going to just restart the app so that, saves. So there it is. You can see this is my only Pokemon named Pyro. Let's see how this works out. You guys lied to me. Instead of a map tracker, do you think it's better if the game showed active spawn points within 100 meters? I don't think that's a better solution, and I don't think it's something Niantic would ever do. And here's why. I don't think Niantic wants us to know about spawn points. I don't think they want us to know anything about how this game actually works from a game perspective. And I really think that they don't want it to be treated like a game. This goes back to the whole thing about them really pushing the reality aspect of it. This is augmented reality. It's not a game to them, and that might be part of the reason why it's so poorly designed as a game. But Niantic is constantly shuffling up spawn points because I don't think they want you to know exactly where and when you can find a Pokemon. I don't think they want you to know that at 10:51 there's going to be a Pokemon right down this way at the end of your street, and at 10:32 a Pokemon's going to spawn in your living room. They don't want you to know that kind of information. They really want this game to be played in a specific way where you're out sort of just wandering blind now, it seems, and Pokemon will pop up every once in a while to say hi, but they really don't want you to know exactly when and where Pokemon are going to be. Although their new tracker in San Francisco kind of tells you exactly that the Pokemon's going to be located near this Pokestop, but again it goes back to their original goal of getting you out and looking at things. If you know the Pokemon's at the Pokestop, you're going to go to the Pokestop and you might look at it and go, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that 38 times before since I live right here, and I've been playing Pokemon GO here for 3 months now. That's just my interpretation of how Niantic is handling things with this game. That's my interpretation of the lack of communication and the lack of explanation when it comes to very basic game mechanics. This is not a game to them. This is a real-world experience. This is an augmented reality experience. So, they're not treating it like a game. That's the conclusion that I've come to. I could be totally wrong on that, and if I am, someone at Niantic please correct me, but it's unlikely that they'll say anything. Ever. Now that rant is out of the way, let's evolve a Growlithe. I'm still looking for Fire Fang, Fire Blast, or even Fire Fang Flamethrower I would be okay with. Fire Fang Flamethrower. Cool. I have a question from Reversal this week. If Niantic would give me the ability to add any one feature to Pokemon GO, what would it be? And this is actually a really difficult one because there are a few different ways that I want to go with it. One, I think the feature that would be most exciting for me personally and make the game the most interesting and the most fun for me again would be PvP battling. The ability to battle my friends or, anyone that I run into out in the street, out in the wild. If I had the ability to battle against them, to test my Pokemon against theirs, to test my skill against theirs, that would make this game so much more fun. It would add so much more gameplay, so much more replayability. That's something that you can do over and over again and probably never get bored with because everyone likes competition. Really, everyone likes to know, am I better than that person at this? Can I beat that person at this? I mean, honestly, I think competition in some ways is a little bit unhealthy, but the ability to battle against people and maybe even have some sort of global leaderboard with most wins or best win-loss ratio, that would add so much to this game, and I think it would keep a lot of people interested for a very long time. Now, while PvP battling would bring a lot of people back, I think, and keep a lot of people interested in the game, the one thing that I think could really revive Pokemon GO back to, maybe not to the full hype of launch, but pretty close to it, the one thing that I think could make that happen again is adding new Pokemon. As the game's player base continues to slowly decline, I think a lot of that is due to people just filling up their Pokedexes and then realizing there's not much left to do. The gym system is pretty stale, there's no trading, there's no PvP, there's really not a lot to do once you've filled up your Pokedex. You can keep collecting Pokemon and try to get better movesets, but ultimately, what's that going to do? It's going to... I don't know. You're not battling against people, you're just throwing them in gyms or looking at a level 10 gym and going, I'm not going to waste my time with that. But really, the one thing that could really get people excited about this game again is new Pokemon. The thrill of that hunt is huge. That was so much fun at the beginning to, see a new silhouette on your, sightings, I guess. And now you're just going to wander in circles looking for it. But to see that silhouette of a Pokemon that you haven't caught yet, it gives you a rush that nothing else in this game does. And I experienced it today. We were out today and I actually caught 2 new Pokemon that I hadn't caught yet. And you'll see that in tomorrow's episode. That was actually really exciting. That was the most excited I've been playing this game in quite some time. Now I think relying on adding new Pokemon to keep people interested is not a good idea for Niantic. I think they really need to come up with better ways to keep people interested besides just giving us more Pokemon, because if you add second generation, in 2 months everyone's caught those and then they're bored again. You add third generation, another 2 months, and then they're bored again. Because once you catch them all, what's left, really? You have level 10 gyms of your own team that you can't add any Pokemon to. You have level 10 gyms of enemy teams that are going to take you 2 hours and all your potions to beat. So Niantic really needs to come up with something else that's going to keep people interested. But honestly, I think that adding more Pokemon is the only thing that could really bring the real hype back to Pokemon Go. 2 more Pokemon. Not very exciting. I'm going to do Pidgey, and I'm going all the way to Pidgeot with this because since I powered up my last Pidgeot with Wing Attack and Hurricane, it's now at like 1600. Alright, camera just overheated. It's almost midnight and it's really hot here in Southern California still. But I'm going all the way to Pidgeot with this one because my last one is now at 1600 CP since I powered it up. I'd like to have another one, hopefully with Wing Attack and Hurricane, at lower CP so I can use it for training in gyms against Pokemon that are in the 2000 range. So hopefully this is Wing Attack Hurricane. Not even close. Alright, this is where the questions get a little bit more real. This one is about being skinny, like I am. How do I deal with being a slim guy and the pros and cons that come with it? And has it ever held me back? And the answer is yes, absolutely, it has. But it's never held me back in a physical way, it's more in a mental way. We live in a society where there's a lot of emphasis placed on image, on your physical appearance, and from a very young age we're exposed to this idea that your value and your worth to society is somehow dependent on the way you look. I think recently we've been more open in talking about how damaging it is, especially to young girls, to constantly present them with these heavily photoshopped images of women and tell them that that's the standard, that's what you need to look like if you want anyone to ever like you or talk to you or care about you. If you want to be worth anything, you need to look a certain way. We focus on it a lot, I think, for young girls and for women, but the same thing happens for men in our society. There is an ideal body type for men, and it's, big and muscular, very fit. This is what you're supposed to look like if you want girls to like you, if you want anyone to really take you seriously. This is what you need to look like. And it's a very dangerous thing. It can be very damaging, especially to young people, all through, even as early as middle school, high school, college. I was very self-conscious about the way that I looked. I was always very skinny, and up until the beginning of college, really, I was short also. So I was a very small guy, living in a society where we're told that you need to be muscular to be popular. I always had these sort of body image issues, thinking that girls wouldn't like me because I didn't look like these types of guys, and I would never be popular because I didn't look like these types of guys. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. honestly. And it goes beyond just physical appearance. We're taught as men that we need to be this, like, macho guy who's getting all the girls, right? James Bond is the ideal hero. The hero of the movie always gets the girl at the end, and that's the most important thing. And that the more women you sleep with, the more value you have as a person. And it's just a really unhealthy idea to be pounding into young people's heads, I think. For so long I thought that I had to be that kind of guy, that I had to be that person, but after so many years I finally realized that that's just not who I am, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I'd so much rather have a meaningful, personal connection with one special person, and I have that now. I have that with Cassie. And that, for me, means so much more than picking up a girl in a bar or, you know, whatever else they tell us that you need to do to be a real man. So my advice for you, I guess, would be, don't worry about what people are saying. Don't worry about what people are telling you need to be. Just figure out who you are and be you. I kind of rambled on that one, but hopefully I got my point across. Now, I do have one more evolution, and it's totally inconsequential, but we're going to do it. It's an Ekans, and maybe I can get an Arbok. I mean, I have like 4 already, but I'm definitely going to get an Arbok. Let's just see what it ends up with. Bite Sludge Wave. I'm pretty sure I already have one with that moveset. 986 CP. Nothing spectacular there. I do have one last question. What does the future of this channel look like? It seems tough to keep up these Pokemon Go videos for another couple hundred of them. And that's absolutely true. It does seem tough at this moment to make a couple hundred more videos about Pokemon Go. It's a very shallow game in terms of actual gameplay, and I've pretty much covered at this point almost everything there is to talk about when it comes to actually giving you guys tips on the game. And I actually stress out a lot trying to figure out what I'm going to cover each day, trying to figure out how I'm going to be helpful in that day, and it's actually been really frustrating lately because there's not very much left to talk about at all. Beyond that, views are slowly falling on the channel. It seems like every video gets less and less views than the video before it. The subscriber count on the channel is actually falling. It's sort of hanging even around 558, just under 559,000, but I've actually watched it today go up and down all throughout the day. So people are just not as interested in Pokemon Go as they were a couple months ago. Now, I'm still pretty excited when I go out to new places to play the game. Like I've said, that's one of my favorite things about the game, is that it takes me to these new places. Now, like I said earlier, I did catch some new Pokemon, and that was really exciting. So that's one thing that actually keeps the game interesting. And another thing for me is the travel. It's experiencing new things and seeing new places, and that's always been one of my favorite things about the game, is that it gets me out and exploring and seeing new things. And I really love sharing that experience with you guys. So moving forward, I want to do 3 main things. 1, I want to travel more. 2, I want to focus more on the creative aspect, on the storytelling, because I feel like that's something that personally I really want to improve on. I want to be able to present a compelling story, an interesting story, not so much focused on a tip, but more on the experience of what I'm doing that day, or the new place that I'm seeing, the places that I'm visiting, the experiences that I'm having, the people that I'm meeting. I really want to share that aspect of the game. And 3, since I complain so much about Pokemon Go's design as a game, and I offer all these suggestions to fix it that Niantic may or may not actually be paying attention to, because I know that personally I can't fix Pokemon Go, I want to do the next best thing. I want to design my own game. But this is nothing new for me. I've always been interested in game design. I've designed an entire Magic the Gathering set based on Pokemon. I'll actually link to that. If you're subscribed to the Magic subreddit, you probably saw it a couple years ago. I've designed Pokemon fan games, ROM hacks, and using RPG Maker, but unfortunately none of those have survived my many computer crashes in the past. But I want to design a game that sort of learns from the lessons of Pokemon Go, that does the things that I wish Pokemon Go could have done. But this is actually something that I've been working on and thinking about since before Pokemon Go even launched. I mean, this notebook is full of notes on game design. This is stuff that I've been planning for quite a while. I have a lot of ideas that I've been sort of going over and refining for the last year at least for a game that I want to design that I think could be really successful and really fun if I do it right. And I've learned a lot from Niantic, so I'm probably going to do it right. I'm probably not going to talk too much about it on the channel until it gets to a more real state. Right now it's just a lot of ideas, a lot of planning, but once it gets to a point where there's actually a product being developed, I'll probably start talking about it a little more and sharing that process with you guys. But that's what's going to be going on sort of behind the scenes in my life. Now, as far as the channel goes, like I said, I want to focus a lot more on storytelling. I want to become a better visual storyteller. I'm kind of on the fence about branching out and covering more games and playing more games on the channel because I never really intended for this to be a gaming channel, but I do want to start playing more mobile games, different mobile games, just to do research, to see what's working well in other games, and I might share some of that with you guys, so I might play a little bit of other games, and if I find something that I like, I might talk a little bit about it from a design perspective. But the focus of the channel will still remain Pokemon Go, and like I said, I want to focus more on the storytelling aspect of it, the experience of playing Pokemon Go. I want to do a lot more traveling, so I think as soon as my car shows up at the dealership and I finalize that, Cassie and I are going to go on a little road trip, so we're going to see a little bit more than the limited amount of California that I've shared with you here on the channel. And then after that, I'm going to start making plans to make some international travel happen. So that's what's going on. That's what the future of this channel looks like as of now. I want to design a game, I want to make that game a reality, I want to travel more, and I want to become a better visual storyteller. And I really hope that you guys are as excited about that as I am. That'll be it for this Q&A. Again, I hope you guys are as excited for the future as I am, and I'll see you tomorrow. I've always been fascinated by watching other people's Pokemon Go adventures, especially from different parts of the world, because it's amazing to me to see not only how it differs, but how much of it is actually the same. He goes by the name of Zalgo Cometh, and today he's here to give us all a look at what it's like to play Pokemon Go in Jamaica. Enjoy.